We are back. Vlog number 16, week 16 of my training block. Last week was deload week, well, so to speak. I still tried to train a bit earlier. I don't have a flipping clue what I weigh. I couldn't care. And yeah, as far as it goes, I need better scale because my scale is all over the place. As soon as I get over 110 kilos, it just bounces up and down. As soon as I even twist my feet. So it's absolutely pointless to weigh myself at this point. I just know I am 119, 120 kilos on every other scale I step on. And that's about it. So I'm going to go through questions first, and then I'm going to talk through my training. So first, what's your best body part and why calves? I don't even think calves are my best body part. I'm just training them religiously. People don't realize I used to have calf days, just training calves for a day. So go in, 45 minutes, do every single exercise, every single technique there is, in every single angle, every single rep range there is, and so on and so forth. I used to train them ridiculously heavy after I learned how Arnold Schwarzenegger used to train them. If you have actually read Arnold Schwarzenegger, like biographies, encyclopedias, all that kind of stuff, he never took picture of his calves. So a lot of pictures are where he stood in the water, in a lake or in a pool or something like that. His legs are not there. It's just hiding his skinny calves. Until he went to train with, oh God, this name now, to South Africa, who was a Mr. Universe and played Hercules in movies. God, no, I forgot the name now. But yeah, and basically story was they woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and he said, let's warm up, and took Arnold to do some calf raises. And he put 250 kilos on his squat rack and started doing raises with that bar. And Arnold was like, what the hell, I'm doing 40, 50 kilos. And he obviously couldn't do it on first day, but within a week or two, he was starting to do calf raises with the same exact weight what, is it Jim Reeves, something like that, was doing. And his calves blew up, you know. Like, I won't do calf raises with anything less than at least my body weight. I just find it stupid. Like, why would you put less weight to be moved around than you weigh yourself? Because that's the weight you should be tolerating, at least on your seated calves, standing calves, and also raises and whatnot. If you can't tolerate that, then it's something wrong with your ability to clear out metabolic waste products from lactic acid buildup. So you need to work on your fitness. And my fitness, when I started training, was quite high. It's coming back now with my training, but I used to cycle everywhere, I used to walk everywhere, I used to go for a swim every single time I finished my training. So my fitness levels were way higher than most of the people have now. And people don't realize that the fitter you are, the quicker you're going to grow, because you can recover quicker, you can literally survive on far less foods than anyone else, and so on and so forth. So fitness is literally the most misused, misunderstood concept of muscle growth. Get fucking fit. So that's about calves. Moving on, how do you decide where to begin a course of AS for an intermediate advanced bodybuilder in terms of milligrams? It depends. You need to know what you can tolerate. Like with everything else, truth be told, you need far less than everyone thinks. It's 10 times less, probably. I have seen so many people absolutely ruining their health, not just physical, but mental, by just doing stupid things that their friend told them to do. And their friend is absolute moron, doesn't understand anything about those kind of things. And then, lo and behold, they just fall apart. Bear in mind as well that everyone responds to things differently. So if you personally don't get side effects or effects from one thing, for someone else it can be absolutely nerve-wracking, you know. So you need to take in account their background, where they come from, all those kind of things. So Eastern Europeans tend to have far less side effects than anyone else than people who come from like down south, you know, like Italy and those kind of countries. They tend to tolerate less things. So, but that also comes with, it's so personal. And I would always advise, whatever you think, half it. At least half it. And then maybe take 1/3 of whatever the hell fucking someone else has told you to do. And then go from there. And more often than not, you'll figure out that the less shit you take, the better your body actually functions. You can sleep better, you can eat better. People abuse these things to such an extent that they don't realize it does not build anything unless you eat and sleep. And most of the time, if you take too much of anything, it just messes up your appetite, messes up your sleep, messes up your focus, messes up your ability to go from sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous state, and that throws everything out. So I would definitely not go by any kind of book, by any kind of stretch. Yes, there are rough guidelines about what needs to be done for someone on TRT and this and that, but those are exceptions. Those are people in specific group. If you are just doing that without need for TRT, that doesn't apply to you anymore. So, yeah, I would not set anything unless I know exactly where people are. And definitely do a blood test, and monitor and just go from there. And people keep saying that the more advanced you become, the more stuff you need to take. Well, the more stuff you need to take when you get bigger. That's about it. You don't necessarily need to change everything every single time. The more consistent you can be, the better. Your body gets adjusted to it, and you're going to get way better response by being more cautious than not. Because no one gets a prize for being the biggest, the fastest. Only prize you're going to get is bloody heart attack. Don't do that. How are you doing? I'm flipping great, dude. Thanks for that. Appreciate your questions. You are absolute legend. Right, next one. Value of growth hormone in bodybuilding. Big contributor in gains, progress, or overhyped. Truth be told, until I moved to UK, I didn't even know what bloody tren is. Till 10, 15 years into training, I didn't know what fucking GH is. And the more I learn about it, the more I think is more useful for strength athletes rather than for proper athletes rather than bodybuilding. You know, you can build phenomenal physique without it. Like where I come from, people can't afford it. Not because it's very pricey. It's not. If you know where to get it, it's actually really cheap. But for the same amount of money, you can buy something that actually works. Is it our biggest guys absolutely abusing it? Oh yeah, hell yes. But at the same time, that's one of the things that you probably will need if you are so ridiculously hyper-muscular just to maintain that size. But it's not fun. Even at my body weight, it's not fun, you know. I try to maintain what I have with like fitness and whatnot, but truth be told, if I was to try to get any bigger, I would have to start abusing hell of a lot of things like insulin, growth hormones, and you name it, you know, just to constantly live in a super physiological state, because my frame can carry only so much without all those things be added. And long story short, I do think it's overhyped. Definitely. Unless you train like a moron who needs your joints to be protected at all cost, it's not as useful as you might need. But if you're training every single day, bashing your joints inside out, doing shitloads of conditioning, shitloads of cardio, and really training like an athlete, yeah, you probably will benefit from it a hell of a lot. Other than that, if you're just a recreational guy who wants to look jacked as fuck, don't waste your money on it. So when you get older, then yeah, probably is more health benefits than that. But truth be told, you can boost that kind of stuff just by really good sleep and good nutrition. So I know a hell of a lot of guys who have never used it and are ridiculously big and ridiculously strong. So I do believe it's very overhyped. In my eyes, it's still a very expensive fat burner. But if you are an athlete, then that probably goes much higher in ranks than anything else. What do you see the most people do wrong when it comes to PED use? Abuse. That's the most wrong thing you can imagine. People just take everything without thinking about consequences, and they listen to wrong people. Just because the biggest guy in the gym tells you that they are taking something doesn't mean they're actually taking it to begin with, and it doesn't mean that they know what the hell they are doing. I have worked with hell of a lot of guys, and I have explored hell of a lot of strategies. I have been consulting with a lot of IBB pros and whatnot. And truth be told, a lot of them have not a flipping clue what they're on about. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to change everything every 2 or 3 weeks, and you just look at them like, how on earth do you look like this, knowing absolutely nothing? But yeah, the definitely wrong thing is that people perceive that taking more, giving you more results, not realizing that taking more usually leads to more health issues, which, let's be honest, if you're not healthy, you can't make much more progress. But they are so delusional from taking stuff, because it affects your mind as well, as much as people want to completely ignore that they get to the stage where they almost become obsessed that things they're taking are probably not working and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely using too much, too early, too often, for too long is the biggest issue. Start slow, really sit down and think about if you actually need anything like that, because most of the guys don't. Like, I work with so many guys that will never touch anything like that, and there is absolutely no need for it. Truth be told, if you are working with someone and they tell you that you definitely need to take something like that to get results, they are bloody charlatans. They just don't know what they're on about. Go find someone else. Definitely don't do something like that just because someone tells you so. And yeah, abuse is the biggest issue. How do you decide when and how much to up calories during a gaining phase? It's a tricky one, because I personally never try to kind of focus on gaining and whatnot. I try to see how much strength I can increase, and then size kind of comes with it. But when I work with everyone else, I try to focus on improving their appetite first, rather than gaining weight. It might sound a bit backwards, but if I'm trying to push on someone a hell of a lot of calories, sooner or later they will get to a point where they just don't want to do it anymore, and they fall out with all the process. So I'll rather have someone stick to same exact amount of food, same foods even, and same meals and same structure for as long as possible. Let their body recomp, so to speak, change the body fat amount, change muscle amount, and all those kind of things, and let them become hungrier for food, so it becomes effortless. You hear so many times that a lot of bodybuilders will say, unless you force feed yourself, unless you get to the point where you're being sick and blah 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 blah, you're not going to be at your biggest, and so on and so forth. And where the hell are those people now? Like, you can do that for 5-10 years, and if you absolutely don't have any life left in you, yeah, it's a great strategy. But most of us still have life. Most of us still do a lot of things outside of the gym and whatnot. So what I would focus in a gaining phase is making sure that you actually still enjoy your training. You don't need to get to the point where you force feed yourself. I have been to the point where I throw up and my alarm clock goes off and I need to eat again. And I believe I was like 115, 116 kilos when I did that. I looked like a swollen marshmallow. That was cool, but I could not do anything at all. Anything else. As soon as I missed a meal, my body would just shrink. Whereas now I could go all day without food and whatnot, and I will still look exactly the same. So how do I decide when to up my calories? Is simply by making sure that your recovery is up to par, making sure you're still enjoying your training. And if we push calories up, it will be such a minuscule adjustment that you won't even feel it. And as soon as you get to the point where it starts affecting your appetite, we're pulling back. We're dropping your calories or doing whatnot, My main goal is not to push calories up. My main goal is to maintain you at state where you enjoy the process for as long as possible. So you're actually trying to gain muscle rather than weight, because the amount of muscle you can accrue within a month is such a tiny amount, whereas you can gain probably 7 kilos in a week. Anyone can do that by eating more carbs, drinking more water, and adding salt to your meals, but you can't maintain it for too long. When you decide to deload, how fuck should you feel? It depends. So I have made so many notes that I usually know every single new training cycle I start doing. By week 6, I am peaking in the cycle, so it takes me around 3 weeks to get my neurological adaptations ready for the style of training I do. And by week 4 or 5, I start peaking at my strength intensity. And by week 6, I usually overreach because I am so fit and strong on the movements I have chosen that I create way more damage that my body can handle. And then I kind of pull back for a week or so. And that's about it. That's just observational. Most of the guys I train, I will probably pull them into 10-ish week period, sometimes 12, and then pull it back. But yeah, it will usually be planned, structured training sessions that have deload included in them. More often than not, everyone I work with will have a period of training less every 10 or between 10 to 16 weeks, sometimes 8, where the more advanced you are, the sooner I kind of like to pull you back. But it really depends. And now I track everything, so if my sleep goes all over the place, I know that's the main thing that always holds me back. I'll just have an extra rest day or 2 or 3 or a week. You know, I'm not scared of taking rest days because I know that's not when you make results. Another thing is I don't look for being absolutely fucked or feel a certain way. What I do, I check my grip. Everything I do, I don't use any straps and whatnot. And if I get to a point where I can't grab anything anymore, I know my recovery is shit. So I take an extra day rest or whatnot. Like now I have up my recovery strategies with my massages and massage chiropractor and things like that. So, and my diet is getting cleaner and cleaner as the more towards peak of my program I get, the more precise I am with what kind of stuff I actually put in my body. So next, when should one go to failure on an exercise? Well, it depends on your training style. So, truth be told, you don't need to go to failure all the time. I wish someone told me that when I started. This is why you have exceptionally good physiques, exceptionally weak. Like Brandon Curry is a bright example. Mr. Olympia, he's so ridiculously weak. It's phenomenal. And then you have someone like Nathan Diasha. He's so ridiculously strong. It's phenomenal. This is probably more applicable for your problem areas that you can't grow. And bear in mind, if you only have learned how to feel the muscle at a certain point, then you probably want to train it more frequently, and then you don't want to get to that failure point. So you actually want to hold yourself back slightly so you can train it more often, just to learn how to feel the muscle and then go to failure. More often than not, what I would suggest is do 1 week to failure and another where you kind of pull back slightly, where you have set weights you're going to use, set reps, no matter what, no matter how it feels, you just do that and that's it. But there are a million ways how to do this, but I definitely think that the less experienced you are, the more often you can go to failure. The stronger, bigger you are, the more dangerous it becomes. And then it's all about making progress rather than trying to trash your body to oblivion, because it takes way longer to recover and it's just not worth the risk anymore. So when you should go for failure is entirely up to you. So pick and choose what you think you need to improve the most, and then take that body part to failure and then see how it affects everything else and adjust from there. Note-taking is so underrated. I'm like, in front of me, I have million notebooks. I have notebook for my vlogs, notebook from my client calls, notebook from new inquiries. Then I have diaries, and I write down everything. And that's one of the things that people so underuse, writing things down, because you can think a lot of things in your head, and until you put them on piece of paper, you'll never see that. Same as your programming. Until you write down what the hell you're actually doing, you will never be able to recognize that, sometimes you probably need to push this a bit harder, and maybe you're overdoing another thing. Next, how would you assess what is too much cardio in an off-season for a bodybuilder? That's easy. If you're not recovering for your training sessions, you're doing too much. At the same time, you need to understand that you need to have some kind of baseline of cardiovascular health. And that depends on age. You can look up some charts and stuff. Your resting heart rate, the lower it is, the better it is. And that's about it. And if you get to a point where your resting heart rate is over 70 beats per minute, I would ring some bells. At rest, if your resting heart rate is about 70, you are slightly holding yourself back on what you could actually achieve in terms of gains made by being fitter, healthier you. Fasted cardio in the off-season. Bad idea for missing a spike in muscle protein synthesis, given food intake is no issue. Fasted cardio as such, for me, wouldn't be off-season or season or whatever the hell you want to do. Habit. It would be something that sets you for a day. Like, I always ask people to get out early and do something just because they have some time with themselves whilst no one else is around them. Everyone is busy, everyone has families, and people like to watch some TV at night and whatnot. In the morning, you don't really want to do that, unless you want to switch on some news and just feed your head full of nonsense that they feed you. Like, I absolutely hate that kind of stuff in the morning. But yeah, you're not missing out on anything. Bodybuilders are doing fasted cardio when they're peaking for shows. So they wouldn't do anything that would compromise their muscle mass. And yeah, it's more often than not just a great tool to set you up for a day. And if you have a chance to do that, I would definitely suggest you to do that, especially getting out, getting those first sun rays from sunrise. It's amazing. Thoughts on reps in reserve and Israel progression scheme for hypertrophy. I like Mike. We talk quite a lot. Well, not a lot. I haven't spoken to him quite a while, but we used to chat a lot because his family comes from a similar area where I come from. So he probably could communicate in 3 languages if he wanted to. And reps in reserve, it's great for someone who doesn't understand what they're doing, because it kind of gives you some kind of thing to go for, instead of do 10 reps of this, do 12 reps of that. At the same time, it's so abused and misused. If you were to train with me, I can guarantee you will leave far more reps in reserve when you train on your own than when you train with me, because you just mentally hold yourself back. It's such a subjective term, but it definitely helps with. If it did not work, people would not buy stuff, and Mike is obviously great representative of that. It does work. From a simple thing that I wish I learned when I was younger, is that you don't need to go to failure every single time we train. Lo and behold, I could train to failure every single time I trained, just because I didn't do anything else. I would just sleep, eat, train, repeat. So it probably helped me massively to gain results quicker. But if I had to work or do anything else, I would just have no life. Sorry. So reps in reserve is very subjective. If you can truly push to those 2 or 3 reps in reserve, great. If you can't, great as well, because at least you are consistent. Even if it's subjective, it's consistent. And any kind of progression will help you grow. You don't need to annihilate your body every single time you're in the gym. It's a myth. Next, Arms are my weak point, bringing down rest of my physique. What would you do if you were me? I wouldn't give two shits about training my arms. Honestly, like, that's one of the body parts I just feel pointless to train. That being said, I would probably have an arm day. Simple as. And use it on a first day of the week or when you're absolutely fresh, and have larger bolus of food day before you train your arms, and straight after training have a really large meal. But yeah, another thing what I would really focus on, what people neglect, is I would bash inside out my triceps rather than my biceps. No one is walking around like this. You walk around with your arms relaxed next to your sides. People who have the biggest triceps usually have biggest bloody arms. Look on Phil Heath, he has massive biceps, yeah, but his triceps is just humongous. Every single person that have ridiculously big arms have ridiculously big triceps. Train your triceps first, always, if you want your arms to look huge in a t-shirt. And then biceps peak it doesn't take much. Next, exercise-induced high cortisol, recovery protocols. Lo and behold, I have a book, which Broderick suggested me to read, The Stress of Life by Hans Selye. Its first edit came out in 1956. So nearly 100 years, well, 70 years of goodness. I haven't read it at the end. I think I've left over 100 pages to read. It's 500 pages long. But what I'm trying to say with this is stress is not bad. Stress is what gives us life. So The Stress of Life, this is basically the book that talks about adaptations that are necessary. So you need to put your body through some kind of stress for it to grow. If your cortisol levels are very high, that's actually a good thing. That means your body is doing what you are trying to make it. Reset. What are you trying to signal your body to do? But obviously, chronic cortisol levels being very high is when issues arise. And simple thing: meditate after training. If that's something you definitely know that you have high cortisol 24/7, that needs to be addressed probably with doctor. But simple thing like just lie down on the floor after you finish training, close your eyes and do the breathing exercise through your nose for 10-15 minutes. You don't even need that much, like 3 minutes is enough. You'll get rid of all of that very quick. But truth be told, you need stress. It's just how much stress you can actually tolerate before your body breaks down that is making the difference between someone who is making a progress and someone who is getting overtrained. So don't be afraid of that. But if you have blood readings that kind of say you have elevated cortisol 24/7, then I would look into that a bit more. Maybe some ashwagandha on a sunset, something that gets your heart rate down. So again, some meditation, some ashwagandha. In the morning, set your day with a sunset. Get rid of any kind of social media as long as possible. Anything that increases exposure to stress. But yeah, I would definitely suggest you to get this book, Hans Selye, The Stress of Life. It's quite cool read, and it's not about just like biology and physiology, but actual life as well. It's just cool. Next, what are the differences in training for powerlifting, bodybuilding, and real sports? Same as differences training for basketball, football, and ice hockey. It's just because you lift weights doesn't mean you doing anything similar. At the same time, just because you are in a team sport doesn't mean you do anything similar. So, to not be a fucking asshole. Training for powerlifting, you still need to do some hypertrophy training. You still need to do some conditioning Training for bodybuilding, you still need to do some strength training, you still need to do some basic movements, you still need to do some core work that powerlifters do a lot. Real sports, you probably don't need to do any kind of weight training depending on sport. And so those are the main differences, that for powerlifting you need to express a hell of a lot of power in shortest time possible. And for bodybuilding, you just need to be as inefficient as you can. That's what bodybuilding is, creating as much inefficiency with the least amount of resistance as you can. It's not about lifting the biggest weight. It's about how heavy you can make the smallest dumbbell you lift. Like, there is a story about Tom Platz that Broderick often talks about. If you... that where he was in a gym, Tom Platz was training, doing some dumbbell curls with 20-pound dumbbells, and someone next to him was doing the same exactly stuff. And they go, Tom, you are lifting the same amount of weight I'm lifting. Why the hell are you looking 10 times better than myself? And Tom's reply was, because my dumbbells are heavier than yours. It's true. If you were to train with me, I can guarantee you I can make you sick from dumbbell curls. Like, I have done it multiple times. I don't need to do it, but I can do it to anyone. Because there are techniques how to move things from A to B, which is your powerlifting, strongman, CrossFit, whatever. And then there is bodybuilding, making this A to B as extortionate as possible. You're literally trying to do everything to make the smallest amount of resistance feel like the biggest weight on the planet. That's what bodybuilding is about. Learning the skill of being inefficient. Creating as much damage as you can with the least amount of risk you can inflict. And lo and behold, you're going to have great results. And sports, real sports, is just being athletic and being skilled. Bodybuilding don't require any of those. Powerlifting requires quite a lot of skill, but doesn't require any athleticism. So... next, moving on. As I get fitter, I need less sleep. I get better sleep, but I'm below 7 hours per night. Is it a major issue? Absolutely not. I had spent 10 years where I was sleeping less than 4 hours and turned out to be right. No, on average, I sleep 5-6 hours maybe. It's not about how long you sleep. It's about how much quality of sleep do you get. Do you get your deep sleep? Do you get your REM sleep? So on average, you probably need hour and a half of REM sleep, same with deep sleep. So lo and behold, at 3 hours, if you can get those in, that's pretty much it. So if you sleep more than 5 hours, that's absolutely fantastic. Don't beat yourself up for not sleeping 8 hours a night. That's as long as you feed yourself and you feel great, there's nothing wrong about that. Last but not least, have you or your clients suffer from reactive hypoglycemia specifically before training? Tips: eat more. No, definitely have a look in what you eat. So you sounds like you probably need some slow releasing carbs and time your food better. I would need much more background on this topic to understand what actually needs to be done. But yeah, it sounds just some kind of misconception about food amount and food timing that could be in play. But maybe it's just something that needs to be looked at on a deeper level with doctors. I definitely don't know the answer to this. But yeah, I would look firstly in your diet and see what's where. And if that fails, go speak to your doctor. That's questions out of the way. Now about my training. So, like I said, body weight, irrelevant. Moving really well. Doubled up on my massages this week. Really pushing my recovery protocols as high as I can. At the same time, I'm doing 5 sessions a week now. One of which is repeatability training, where I'm doing same exact calisthenics movements, and every set I increase the time in which I spend doing this exercise. So, and it's very easy to do, but God, you ache in so many weird places afterwards. So, moving from there, my intensity is going up definitely these next few weeks. So I will be lifting way over 80% of my max weight. Reps are going to come down to 1, 2, 3 reps, no more than that. For the main lifts, I'm still doing couple substrate sessions where I'm just trying to deplete myself as fast as I can with smallest loads that I can, keeping myself safe and ready. But yeah, we got 4 weeks left after this, and then we're peaking, and then we're having a small break and transitioning to hypertrophy. But that might be all over the place because I have a hell of a lot of seminars planned for this year where I'm going to learn how to be better me, better at my job, better at life, better at everything. But that's as boring as my training gets. Supplements are not changing. I am adding some new pept this week after training sessions, after my 2 main sessions that are focused on just skill, which is squat and bench press. So after those training sessions, I will be adding 10 milligrams of new pept, just to kind of enhance my ability to do those movements with more precision next time around. And I've never used this one, and I'll see how it goes. I use Alpha GPC, 300 milligrams before those training sessions, 10 milligrams of new pep straight after training sessions. Everything else is staying the same, or the TRTs, Primas, on NMPPs and whatnot. Nothing has increased, nothing has gone down. I've literally run the same exact stuff from start till the end, only because I feel great. And like I said, I only need it for recovery reasons, nothing else. And I got quite a few videos on YouTube about pre-workouts that I am testing now. I'm not a big fan of supplements because most of the time they just upset my stomach and throw me off from doing what I actually should be doing, eating real food. But if you're interested, check it out. And this has been much longer videos than I expected. And on that note, I'll talk to you next week. You got any questions? Drop them underneath in comment box. Once a week I post a question box on Instagram before I make these videos, and I will reply every questions. And if I can help in any other way, shape or form, let me know. But other than that, I'll speak to you next week.